Hello, hello. Welcome to the Balkan Show.
Hello everyone, Preshendiyete for our Albanian friends, Bună ziua for our Romanian friends, Merhaba for our Turkish friends, Zdravite for our Bulgarian friends, I'm getting tired, and Zdravo for our ex-Yugoslav, Bosnian, Serbian, Croatian, Montenegrin friends, and in Slovenia as well. And Greek ones, Yasu, sorry not to forget you guys. Welcome to another episode of your lovely Balkan Show. Today, we're going to have not one, but two guests on it. If you remember, that was in the first episode. We had two guests at the same time. It was really unique. And we're doing it again for some reason. No, we're doing it because both of them are amazing guys. They're coming from Bosnia, I can say this, Harun, Omić, and Kenan, Kurdić, which you can see in the description. But nevertheless, I can read it for you. Amazing guys, what they do exactly. And I met them personally on some workshop, and I was mesmerized by them. And I said, Onat, we need to have those guys. Yeah. So what the audience can expect in the episode, Onat?
So in this episode, we gonna speak about their profession. They're on the marketing side. We talk about the branding, personal branding, a bit about advertising, a bit about future of the Balkans in personal branding or branding topic. And you will also enjoy their
relationship,
their relationship, their personality,
not romantic relationship, their friendship relationship and business relationship, how they communicate with each other, how they confront each other. It's not a reality as some people would like it, but it's a good hit to have like a good dialogue. They're not fighting. That's the way how they communicate. So they're really unique guys. So we got both things that we like in our show, informative side and fun side. So infotainment was here for sure in this episode.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Dusan, I enjoyed the episode, and we hope you will also enjoy. And before
click whenever you want to click on every platform you're there, click guys, enjoy and support us with your views, with your buy us a coffee, whatever you want. We like to have you here in the next episode, so enjoy this one and let's give it a go.
Let's go.
And here we are today with our newest guests.
Hello.
Welcome, Kenan and Harun, to our lovely Balkan Show.
Hello, it's a pleasure meeting you finally.
Likewise. For audience sake, could you tell us like one by one? Let's say start with Harun right now. Where are you right now, Harun?
Kenan. I'm right now in Sarajevo in my apartment, looking forward to enjoying this conversation, really.
Wow, it's such a good preparation. You were such a nerd. Okay.
Wow.
And you can
just wait for Kenan.
I'm also in my apartment in Sarajevo, and I'm looking forward to clashing with Harun on many topics that are in front of us.
For audience, we were discussing before, they have different t-shirts, black and white, so bad and good cup will be present.
It's a debate. It's not a podcast. It's a debate for us. Yeah.
Okay.
That's usually it sounds good. The debate and the conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever he says, I'll be against it, and I'll try to argument it. Yeah.
And he will not be even acting. It's literally he's always
absolutely.
No
you
bullshit.
already had an agreement now.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
You broke the characters.
Let's live up to the expectation.
Good.
Wow.
For our audience to get to know you better, guys, could you tell us, as we say it here, your Balkan backstory, where you come from, what you do? Quite short, then we can go deep dive into most interesting thing today. Kenan, would you like to start now?
So not Harun this time.
Yes.
It goes, ACDC.
Okay, so basically, I'm always trying to find the best way possible to present myself to anyone who never met me. And basically, I'm coming from a small place named Bobare, which is next to Tešanj in Bosnia and Herzegovina. And I'm in marketing for I think over 10 years now, because I'm counting since I started my university years. Like I studied in Turkey, then I did a lot of internships here and there, but I'm not like my CV, yeah, anyone can check it up on LinkedIn. But what I found what I'm mostly proud of my career and everything that I'm working on is that I really have this huge curiosity about how people work, what motivates them, what inspires them, why they do certain things, why they react to certain things, no matter how stupid or hard to understand they are, but just why people do certain things. And I believe that this kind of curiosity actually led me to picking a career in marketing and led me to doing all my jobs that I did in the agencies, in the tech, and now as a individual marketing consultant. So basically, I would say that I'm blessed with curiosity, and I believe that Harun has a direct insight into that curiosity, because I'm sending him like a dozen of TikToks daily about very, very, very strange topics. What was the TikTok yesterday, Harun? I found a, I think, guy somewhere in India, and he's washing his python snake with Head and Shoulders, I think it was. So guys literally like washing his snakes on Instagram Reel, and I just so basically things like that.
And now you can
When you
see
said
how
his
much,
python, I hoped it was a real snake.
No, it was a real snake. This is
Okay.
not a metaphor for anything. This was a real snake. Yeah, I can show you the video. Yeah.
Thank you. You'll share the link to our audience if they're really curious as you are.
I will. Yeah, I will.
Good, transitioning to Harun. So you're in context, so you're in the same profession audience would guess. So Harun, would you like to present yourself?
Well, wow, it will be hard now to present myself after the curious Kenan. So to keep my
like a
intro short and sweet as well, grew up all my life living in Sarajevo. I entered the world of marketing by some kind of accident because I wasn't really aware of what I wanted to do professionally. But in my senior year on university, I have always been an extrovert in my life. I love people. Everything I do in life needs to be revolved around people. When you say people person, some say it's some kind of competitive advantage, but to me, I really thrive on human emotion and relationship with people. I don't know, would my life make any sense if there weren't people I love or care about? And sometimes in life that was good, sometimes it was bad, sometimes you get disappointed, you get saddened and everything. But when I first came in touch with marketing, I really fell in love with the concept of brands, of not successful, profitable companies, but brands which are humanized to an extent that they feel like you're talking to a real person. I was, for example, amazed. One of the triggers for me loving branding is when I first heard that people somewhere around the world are putting logos of Harley Davidson on their shoulders or their legs or their arms or their back. And that idea in which something that is lifeless, it's a logo, it's a brand, it's somebody writing something behind, can relate to other people who have no interest in it but using their products was something that fascinates me. And this love, I wouldn't say maybe curiosity, not copy Kenan, but my intrigue in how to turn something that's inanimate into a living persona like a brand is something that really amazes me. And that's why my career took me. I first worked in a local coffee roastery company, worked with my father. I declined a lot of corporate offers from the table after I graduated from university because I wanted to work in the dirt, trying to build a brand. That led me to being part of one of the biggest craft beer stories here in Sarajevo and Bosnia Herzegovina. Then I went to corporate, worked in one of the biggest companies in the world, and currently I'm working in one of the fastest growing IT companies here in Bosnia Herzegovina. So maybe just this shows that I'm not industry driven, but story driven. So I really like to be part of companies in which we can tell stories that can resonate with people. Thank you very much.
Story driven is an excellent touch, Harun. I love it.
I love your curiosity.
If I just made two things. First, I want to show you the python. I hope you see it. Like this is like literally a guy washing his python. I believe it's python. I mean, I'm not so familiar with the snakes.
Okay.
And the second fun fact is that Harley Davidson is the most tattooed brand in the world. People are making logo of the Harley Davidson. It's the most popular of all brands. I think that Disney comes second because under Disney you have Mickey Mouse, all the other characters, etc. But Harley Davidson is number one. It's like a religion-based brand, basically.
Amazing, unique. And you made a really good transition for us in our main topic today, branding in itself, corporate branding, personal branding in the Balkans, in Bosnia, wherever, especially if possible in Bosnia. But for our audience to understand, could you explain the main difference? It was also hard for me in the beginning to understand the difference between branding, marketing, and advertising. They're like intertwined, but there's a clear difference. So, long story short, if possible. So who would like to start? Raise your hand or
Kenan, please.
whatsoever.
Harun, do you want to explain?
No. With your advertising background, I'm really also curious about your answer.
So basically, I studied advertising. Well, people are misusing the terms quite a lot in Balkans, but worldwide as well. But in the school book example of marketing in general and advertising, which is basically a communication, is that in advertising you get a product that's already finished, and then you do the communication of that product. While in marketing, you are involved or should be involved in the development of the product itself. So marketing guys are actually doing the analysis of, okay, what people want, what kind of chocolate do people would like to eat, etc., etc. So they're all going into all these deep diving, etc. And then they're making the product. They're basically in the core structure of product development. While advertisers get like, hey, this is the cell phone that we made. Go and figure something out about the communication. So basically, this is the core difference between the two or three terms, basically.
Understood. And the branding itself, how would you describe it in this frame?
Well, branding is mostly in terms of design, etc., used. But in general, when we say personal branding, is like how people see me. And one of the main things I believe that we will enter it in the further questions is that, okay, we have brand image and brand identity. Brand image is how your brand is perceived, whether it's your corporation, whether it's your personality, etc., etc. And brand identity is how you want your brand to be perceived. It's always different. Like there's no brand in the world that matches these two things. Because I don't know, I can't figure out the good example for this. For example, I don't know, Apple is all about the design, everything extremely easy to use, etc., etc. While people are actually buying like, hey, this thing shows that I'm rich, that I have a high status, etc., etc. So this is the main difference between the identity and image and so on.
I can say for Coca-Cola, for instance, on top of my mind, they're like, for the Christmas family and stuff. But in some parts of the world, it's like symbol of imperialism.
And so exactly. And again, there's the Balkan guy drinking cola after eating burek because it helps his stomach work better. So this is like the brand image of the Coca-Cola, and it's not refreshing, happiness, etc. that they want it to be. So, yeah.
Just to burp.
Yeah, just like now it's good. Yeah.
True. Onat, would you like to proceed?
Yeah, I want to ask about if you can tell us some story from your career that is like from Bosnia or maybe from Balkans, like unique branding stories, not like something typical.
It'd be crazy. Or like totally misleading or like big failures, whatever.
I wouldn't call it crazy or something. At that moment of time, I can start. Maybe in Kenan, you can just riff around. I have a couple of ideas also about Kenan's successful work so far. But maybe
you can tell about some of my campaigns. Yeah.
No, you will tell yours. Yeah, no, you give him a different flair. But from my humble career so far, one of the most interesting things it wasn't a failure. It was a failure with the number, but you'll get the bigger picture once I tell it. But it was opening the biggest craft brewery space in Sarajevo at that time. We made a colossal project in which we wanted to take one of the oldest and most beautiful buildings in Sarajevo, in the downtown Sarajevo. It was the old cinema, Imperial. It was one of the most respected places in our city in which 4 or 5 generations were going to cinema and enjoying. It was part of the culture of the society. It was built in 1900s, beginning of 1900, and then it was closed for the last 10 years. And the idea was how to humanize and involve people in becoming part of that story, not just putting the capital in, renovating the place, and then opening it up, but how could my biggest task was how to involve people into the process, not only by communication. And what we came up with, long story short, is that we made 4 campaigns during the renovation period. And every campaign we had was not communication first, but it was activity first. We involved people in every step of the process. For example, the first step was cleaning the cinema. We could easily pay someone to pay for that service to come and clean everything, but we made a gathering with food and drinks, and we invited, I don't know, the public to join us in seeing that cinema first time after being closed for more than 10 years. And around 200, 300 people showed up. It was an all-day gathering. People started telling those stories, etc., etc. Then we made an exhibition with all the old things we found in the cinema, and then we also made some kind of, I don't know, gatherings inside while it was a work in progress. And that was happening just for the sake of to understand it's a campaign that's 7 months. It wasn't a 1 month campaign. It was constant communication with tens of thousands of people in any given day. And at the end, what we are most proud of is that we at that time pulled off the biggest crowdfunding campaign in our country at that time. Maybe one or two after that were the biggest one, but one of the biggest challenges is why here in Sarajevo and Bosnia Herzegovina, Kenan can confirm, we're not really aware that much when it comes to e-commerce. And the idea in which we took an old cinema and turned it into a brewery, and more than 200 people financially supported that and invested more than, I don't know, $13,000 at that time, was maybe one of the, I don't know, the brightest parts of my career, but only because we started with the information I shared with you in the introduction part. We weren't thinking how to clean and open the space in the shortest amount of time. We were thinking, how can we invite people, those who are consuming the brand, who are experiencing the brand, and how they can become a part of it to make it feel as if it were theirs. That's really hard when Kenan can confirm in communication and marketing and branding. What we all yearn for when you're working in communication is that you want people to trust you. And trust is not a transaction. And for 7 months, when we started, people were being reluctant. Is this just a hype? Is this just a get-rich scheme? Is it going to be commercial? Is it going to be transactional? Is it going to be this or that? But the thing is, only after 4 months of active communication, every single day, people started responding. And the result of it, and to complete my part of, I know, one of the projects I'm most proud of before I give the mic to Kenan, is that 3 years, unfortunately, the cinema place closed because of the COVID situation and everything. But one of the biggest accomplishments, and why I think this is such an impactful story, is because after 4 years, when it was closed, to this day, people are still speaking about that place and about that story. And that's to some extent why this story just reinforces, when I talk with Kenan about these topics, that not all hope is lost when it comes to building brands in our country. Just people need to see more of those types of activities, not just like, share, subscribe, buy this, get one free, buy this, get 50% off. People love stories, but we need to tell them better. I'm not saying this story is the best. It had a lot of small fails in it, but what we knew we wanted to do is to really create a story that doesn't have any hidden agenda behind it, telling the story for the beauty.
You mean there should also be interactive as well, as understood, or it's like typical for us in the Balkans?
It's not that typical, but Kenan can confirm, and I'll finish with this. Sorry for maybe just going long with the riffing and an answer. I
will not confirm anything. I will disagree with you on everything.
What I just want to say is that whatever brand any of us is trying to build on this call, or anybody listening to us, you don't have permission to build a brand, a long-lasting brand, if your plan for building the brand does not involve people in it. When you think of any brand you love today, regardless, is it tech, fashion, hair, service, product, you resonate with that brand above its price, above its design, above something. Kenan said, I buy an iPhone, it's a social status. It communicates with people. It's an icebreaker. It sends a message about you, that you're an innovative person. You are maybe an entrepreneur. You're breaking the status quo. It tells you more Maybe sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you buy a product just because it's fancy. But in most cases, when you are in the right room with the right people, right brands are perfect icebreakers. And you cannot make a perfect icebreaker if you're just building a brand to earn money, especially fast money. And we can continue from there. Kenan, I would like to hear yours.
Unless you sell some illegal stuff, which we are not allowed to mention on this podcast.
Yeah, we get easy demonetized. And we earn so huge money here, it will impact.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
You just have to pay to YouTube.
yeah, basically. So what I kind of disagree with Harun, but really on this one, because it's not so hard to make people to trust you. What I'm trying to explain anytime that I speak to someone is that basically all the communication, advertising, marketing, etc., it's not so different than face-to-face communication, because in face-to-face we humans are extremely intuitive creatures. Like, we can recognize, we have the bullshit detector, which is the highest probably in all time of the humankind history right now. Like, you can tell immediately when someone is trying to trick you, etc. Some people are better at it, some people are worse, etc. But basically the brand communication, marketing, advertising, everything is just the same as face-to-face communication. People feel the energy behind, people feel your intentions, people can basically stalk you nowadays, everything, because people nowadays don't buy brands because, I don't know, the owner is Jewish, like we see the boycotts at the moment worldwide, or because the owner is extremely controversial, or because it's extremely boring, etc. Right now you can find out anything about any business in just a matter of minutes. And in there's a misconception about also, hey, there are like no cool brands in Balkan, it's hard to work here, etc. Yes, it's not harder, it's just different than the global scene, because Balkan people are very, like, we have a different mindset, and the entire world basically has a chance to see this through the ambassadors of Balkan, which are at the moment probably the sportsmen, the best. Like, we have, I don't know, Doncic and Jokic in the NBA, which are doing wonders, but they just like, hey, I'm eating cevapi, I go to horse races, I don't want to play basketball, etc. Like, that's the Balkan mindset. How are you gonna sell the campaign, which is like extremely like Coca-Cola happiness, ha ha ha? No, Balkan is about the burek, so go make a burek campaign, it will work better here. And it's not so hard, it's just that marketers generally, me and Harun included as well, like, usually have this misconception, like, okay, I could be this sophisticated, but people will not get it, etc. No, Balkan people are very, very smart. Their areas of interest are quite different. So I would like to also, like, every marketer, that this is a side note as well, like, we just talk about our campaigns, because every marketer has an incredible ego that they think that they're doing things better than everyone else. But jokes aside, like, we're talking about our campaigns as well, because we know it the best. And the thing that I'm probably one of the things I'm mostly proud of, even by this day, and now I have like 6 or 7 years of experience working on my own, is that the campaign that I made for a tech company in Bosnia, which was based on the hashtag, and it was also during COVID. So what happened? We all got locked up in our homes. We're working remotely. It's quite boring. You can't travel. You can't do anything. And it came up in spring. So we just got the idea, like, okay, we can't go anywhere. It's hard to cross the border. It's even hard to go to Croatia from Bosnia, although we're neighbors, etc. You need like many documents to show that, hey, I don't have COVID, let me in. So we decided, okay, we have many, many cool places in Bosnia, but we never explore them because we have no time. So then my company invented a hashtag, which is called Travel 387, and 387 is the international barcode of the country. And we just started a challenge with other tech companies, like, hey guys, after we are able to travel, we want to visit this place. What is your go-to place in Bosnia? Like, show us the gem so that anyone can hop in and just so we can discover more cool places to visit in Bosnia, because we can't go anywhere else. And this basically went very viral. Like, we got even Edin Dzeko in the end to post our hashtag, etc. And at the moment, I just checked, the hashtag has 38,000 users on Instagram. So basically, something that started from a small bedroom in COVID got like so popular. But what we did here is, it's basically the same principle as Harun did with the old cinema. Like, we let people in because people want to be a part of the process. People want to join in. Like they can't wait. Like people love the most, and every single person on the world is just like this. We love the most to speak about ourselves. This is why, like, hey guys, this is where I want to go. Hey, check it out. Where you want to go, etc., etc. We love to share things about us, and this is the thing that we just got strike to the middle with this campaign, and it was very, very successful. And in the end, I think even some touristical community, whether it was Canton Sarajevo or someone else, I don't remember, they took over the hashtag and they continue to run it over. So basically, it's not that hard. You just have to really, really know the market. You have to sense what people actually want, and then you give it to them.
Understood. So basically, what you said, Kenan, and what you also said before, Harun, although we have different marketing styles and different branding in Balkans, it doesn't say per se that we are worse or better than the ones in the abroad, comparing to especially to the West. It's just different type of branding, and it should be adapted. Not just copying directly what's going on there and just making as it is, copy paste directly. Do you know some other examples? As Ona said, yeah, this is your local ones. Do you know some other ones that are around other countries that are really cool, innovating, breaking the standards? In your opinion,
Harun, you do one brand, I'll do the others.
But here in our country, I mean, this answer has multiple correct. It all depends what makes you tick when it comes to a good brand. For example, to me, a brand that's involved in the community may be a good brand. Maybe some brand that uses sex in its communication or uses some, I don't know, it has a specific style of communication is a brand to another one. Maybe it's not only about the product or the features, in my opinion, but for example, when you think about our country and maybe a campaign that was really cool here, but on a basis of not just it wasn't a campaign, a creativity based campaign, but more of a business standpoint. Also, for example, I really like the story of how Letta took a stand here, for example, during COVID as a business, and how they turned their communication here towards the community. They were the first brand here to take a stand when it comes to protecting their people. Why is this an interesting or good campaign to me? Why? Because they are in the intimate business of taking care of people's hygiene. And no other brand were doing that at that point of time. And how they did it, how they communicated, how they used transparency. We are not aware to that extent how transparency has become sexy and important in communication today. Some of the best brands in the world, not just in our country, are getting deeper with their community just because being honest. Sometimes the most creative thing you can do when you have when the external situation on the market is different is taking a stand in communication and authenticity. I'm sure Kenan will give a more creative because he worked also in one of the biggest agents in our country and everything. But to me personally, I like stories that resonate with people on a deeper level. I mean, Kenan also has a point in it, but maybe, I mean, when we talk about brands in general, global brands, we can see the differences in how we perceive some brands. But to me, the stand, it was a campaign. It was a 6-7 month campaign, what Violetta did. But they did it consistently, and they never turned left or turned right while they were communicating that. They even communicated how they could sell their entire production line abroad during that time, and that they made a hard stop so their products can stay in the country and help the people in that country. And those are really sexy things and good things and powerful things when the emotions are high. And that's what Kenan says. When you have your finger on the pulse of the market, when you see what's really interesting, if you know how to use that, but not to use it in a manipulative way, but in a way in which you want to serve the community, that can really bring points. It was not just PR or marketing or communication. It was everything they did to showcase people what they stand for. And afterwards, there were some, I don't know, conferences or something, how much their brand got stronger after taking that stand. And they didn't do anything innovative. I mean, they didn't invent a new paper towel. They didn't invent a new, I don't know, liquid for washing your dishes or anything, which is something you may think about first. But in a communication way, they really were innovative. Why? Because they took a stand and they spoke about it. And today's brands, whether they are challengers, whether they are innovative, they need to talk. If you don't talk, nothing specific will happen. You cannot expect people to know about you if you're not willing to take a stand. And when you take a stand, what's that good? People will either love you or not love you. And as I and Kenan like to say, and that's okay. But if you don't serve somebody, you will not serve anybody.
Overall, you just need to set your talk, and the money itself, how much you need to invest in this is okay, irrelevant, but still, even without it, you need to present yourself somehow.
But you know why, Dusan? If you have a good story, as Kenan said, when you have a good story and it picks up the sparks of the community, they will do all the talking. Why? Because we as human beings have an innate need to talk about things we find cool or good or different. We want to be on the top of information. We want to be that guy or that gal who comes with their friends and will say, hey guys, have you heard about this? Hey girls, have you heard about this?
Have you seen the python that's taking a bath? Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah.
Yeah, true. You don't even have to be creative, but although when you're creative, it gets more views and people tend to talk more about it. There are two examples, one in the Balkans, one in Egypt. I can come on the top of my mind. One is about Pevice's windows.
Stolarija Stanišić.
Yes, on a page they do some funny things. I think they have zero budget for marketing, but they just do some funny stuff, similar to like the Egyptians do for clothing and Spiderman and stuff. So there's just one shop in the market, and they're doing this, and people tend to talk about them. So that's a really, I get zero budget, I guess.
Absolutely. And another thing that's basically beautiful. I mean, the thing Violetta did was basically just a transparent. That's what we mentioned in the beginning. It's just like face-to-face communication. Hey, this is what I'm gonna do, and you feel that okay, I trust you with all my guts. I trust you that you're doing it for the right purpose, etc., etc. That's the main thing, to convey the message, to make people believe in you. And also another brand that Harun and I are closely following, and what's basically happening overall internationally is that I believe due to bullshit detector and Gen Z becoming more and more popular, more and more included in the business processes in every company, etc., they are not so cared about, oh, hey, let's be politically correct, we can't do this, we can't do that, etc. But the brands who do it, who go outside of their scope, of outside what people basically expect from them, like Stolarija Stanišić did. They're like, you're a PVC manufacturer, like you make windows. How creative can it be? Like, it's okay, yeah, it's plastic, it's special plastic. You can't hear the noise, etc. Yeah, we hear you, it's good, but it's super boring product. But they just found a way to make it like as fun as possible, using all the elements of the Balkan that we really love, the humor, the everything. And I think they sales increased in like 400%, something like that. Like they just flew directly from TikTok. And the brand that we love, I don't know if I can share screen here or we can add it later on.
We can add it on, so don't worry.
Okay, yeah. So it's the Surreal. It's a cereal brand from United States, I think, right, Harun, or the UK?
They're UK.
Yeah. So basically, they're doing extremely like funny things and things that you wouldn't expect from a cereal brand. Because first of all, they have a LinkedIn, but they don't using LinkedIn like everyone else is using. Like, hey, I'm proud to share my new position, blah 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 blah. They just like, hey, our sales guy like made a mistake. This is what will happen to him now, etc. And they recently made a billboard campaign. Like, on one, they have like, this is our high protein cereal is now in Sainsbury's, which is a very interesting and big retail chain in UK. And on the other billboard, they have two guys from their sales team, which are ready to tell you everything about the cereal. And they're basically sitting on the billboard. Like they have like the benches sitting on the billboard and they're just welcoming people like, hey, this is our cereal, etc. Like, this is something that's just, what are you doing? And the highest thing, like why I'm always very mad on marketers, like, hey, yeah, but we don't have the budget. You don't have to have a budget. Like the best creativity basically comes, but I mean, some of my clients will watch this, but the best creativity comes when your budget is very low, almost non-existent. Like that's when the best because hey, I have no money, but I have to figure something out. So, okay, let's record a video. Let's put somebody on the billboard, etc. That's when the real magic happens.
Yeah, but I need to say, in your defense, Kenan, for your clients, the more you pay them, the more quality you'll get. Nevertheless, you can still go without it.
the more you pay me. Yeah, exactly. The more you pay me, the more quality you get. Yeah, we don't have to spend on the other ones so much. Yeah.
Okay, then you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Dusan.
Just wanted to remind me about PVC Solaria, so these PVC windows frames. As you said, like you don't hear sound. One of the videos was like a woman was yelling. It was his wife. He closed the window, doesn't hear anything, and he says, "PVC Solaria, buy it." You see,
Yeah. Like,
and it sticks. You see,
absolutely.
Yeah. And as you said, in the Balkans, the humor itself, it's never-ending story. So there's a lot. Yeah, it's borderline liberal thing, so to say. Something right now in the U.S. and Gen Z and what's going on there and cancel culture. I don't know how it impacts us today, but there is some impact to some extent. But without it, our humor would be dead. I don't know how to explain it, but cancel culture and our humor are just not aligned.
Yes.
I mean, we'll try not to say anything controversial about the cancel culture so that we don't get canceled. Yes. But yeah, I believe that the world has become too extremely sensitive, especially in USA, etc. Like you can't say some regular basic things anymore. Like everyone, hey, why are you saying that, etc. Like it's too sensitive because people are forgetting that the intent behind is not so bad. Like, hey, just me sharing my opinion, like just so it's very complicated. But I think that Balkan is very far away from that, which is good in some topics but also bad in some other topics because we still, like, I don't know, stay silent to violence, etc. Those are some things that are I would rather not dive into now, but this is like it can be good and bad, etc. So yeah,
like everything. Yeah, totally right. Coming back to the topic, it's the branding and make a transition into how I got you both here. Actually, us got you both here is basically through my experience with you two guys on workshop that you really did really good job in presenting the topic of personal branding. So for our audience, it was an organization of Zoran Đinđić Foundation, German internship. And they did, both Harun and Kenan, really good job of explaining and teaching us what does a personal brand mean. So could you tell us again to our audience, what is a personal brand? What should we take care of? Maybe now, Harun, you can start.
Yeah, and I'll disagree later on. Yeah.
Didn't I start with the previous question? No, I will try to repeat myself. I mean, consistency is key when it comes to sending the message out, right? But personal branding is everything when you sum up all the people you know or touched in your life, had an interaction with them, and the sum of what they think about you is your personal brand. And when you want to get a better number, as Kenan said at the beginning with brand image and brand identity, is to see and the difference between what you think about yourself and what others people think about you needs to be really low. The best would be 0. Why? Because then you're being inauthentic. So personal branding, as we said on the workshop, is what people are talking about you when you are not in the room. I mean, it's easy to pay yourself promotion, to pay other people to speak nicely of you. We have PR agencies, we have brand consultants, etc. But if you're trying to build a personal brand, the strength of your personal brand is when your name is mentioned in the room, what are the first emotions that come to people's minds? There are no good or bad personal brands. Kenan said surreal cereal. We have other brands. We have Liquid Death. You have more conservative brands, more caring brands. We have big brands, small brands, but they all are trying hard to know themselves. As brands do, we as people should also nurture and take care of our own brands. Why? Because if the value of our personal brand is 0, in today's, not just marketing, business world or world itself, you are almost non-existent. Some people who are not active in trying to networking or creating their brands are creating their brands through the work they're putting out. Because all of us need to know who we want to know us. Who do we want to know our name? None of us, it's really hard to become The Rock or, I don't know, president or somebody else, but we need to know, and that's the power of personal branding. So personal branding is, if I could send one tactical, practical tip to anybody listening to this, personal branding is answered by one question, and that question is, if I weren't in a room and somebody mentions my name, what would I like for those people to say? And what you answer is something that you should integrate in your behavior when you interact, because you need to plant those seeds if you want that tree to grow up over time. And the key word is over time, because you don't start speaking with people on Monday and on Wednesday you have a personal brand. It's a long game, it's a hard game, and it's a game in which you can lose in, I don't know, a couple of seconds.
And the fight lasts your whole life.
Yes. Now Kenan
If I just may quote Sasha Matic on this one, like anyone from Balkan watching this will understand.
In English, for audience that don't speak Serbo-Croatian, Bosnian, so Montenegrin, not to mention other ones. So it takes 1,000 steps to climb, but 1 step to fall. So
so basically, that's
good one.
The biggest thing. Like, this was the second time that me and Harun held a workshop on personal branding, and people, I mean, not the previous group as well, but people are often like, we get questions on, it seems like people want to have like a shortcut. I feel like they expect us to tell, hey, post on LinkedIn every day at 2 p.m. and you'll be successful. Like, it's not that easy. Those are all like, hey, if you post at 2, it's all problems gone. Trust me, like, that's it. No, it's not that easy. So basically, there's no shortcut. Like, it's the consistency. It's about who you really are, because people will feel it. Like, and anything that you do, whether you having your own business, you work for the company, etc., etc. Like, you can pay to be a guest on podcasts. You can even make your own billboard, etc., etc. But after I hire you, whether as an employee or an agency or a consultant or whatever, and I see that you are full of peep, it's your personal brand just goes down. So the most important thing is that, okay, this is me, and that your image of who you really are and how you present yourself be exactly the same. And as I mentioned, like, the world is getting more relaxed on this topic, mostly because of the new generations, because the old ones, like Gen X, boomers especially, etc., they're still like very politically correct. Hey, I have a good job, let's stay on it. You can't say that on the television. You can't smoke and drink on the podcast, etc., etc. Like, they're all like, hey, like, you can't do that. But this is who you really are, and people actually really love seeing who you really are, because people don't like things that are perfect, because nobody is perfect. Perfection doesn't exist. And I also love the example of Frank Sinatra, the famous singer. He used to wear always perfect white shirt, etc., etc. When he was about to make a speech, when he was about to have a concert, he would just do something with his collar so that it looks like not perfect, because he knew that people like were idolizing him, and if they saw that, hey, Frank Sinatra is not perfect, so then I'm allowed to be as well. And when you are not perfect, it's much easier to bond with people. Like, hey, this is just a regular guy. Like, let's get to me. Let's work together, etc., etc. Let's invite them to our podcast, as you did, and thank you for that, etc., etc. It's just like much easier. It would be way different if we showed up in suits. If we hey, like, always just very strict professional language, etc., etc. No, it doesn't work. It doesn't make no bond in communication nowadays. It used to way back when you had a television and only 3 channels on television, and that was your only source of information. Right now, and this is the fact that I learned today, it's very interesting. People scroll on average 230 meters per day. So like, we scroll 230 meters per day, like, which is a long distance, having in mind that the phone screen is like this. So imagine the amount of information that's coming to us. Like, it's just, we don't have time for anything that's not real.
What a metric! I never imagined like this, but yeah.
Exactly. Like, never. I never heard of it. So yeah,
that's cool.
You already actually mentioned, but we can go deep dive on the what should people do for to have a good personal brand, and also according to the question, do you have some like good examples on personal brands? Like, I noticed like mostly the football players or sports players, they do well on that part, but probably they're spending a lot of money on that, and maybe something much more natural side.
If you can, yeah. So
Kenan.
can now you and then Harun. Okay,
Yeah.
you're following the rule. Okay.
So now this is the part where we answer, right?
Yeah.
I can go first, Harun, no problem.
Yes, yes.
What the football players are basically a great example of authenticity as well, because people really love the authentic ones. And I really love the example. There's a great Netflix documentary about it. I think it's called Treble, about how Manchester City won all the 3 trophies last year, FA Cup, Champions League, and Premier League last season. And there's a player in Manchester City which is quite familiar for his drinking, gambling, and smoking, etc., etc. And it's Jack Grealish, and he's really open about this. Like, hey, this is me in the club. Like, I have a game in 2 days' time, and this is me in the club now, extremely drunk. And it's okay with everyone. Even what Pep Guardiola says, hey, as long as he's doing well on the pitch, I have no problem with it. So that's the thing. While we have a bunch of other players who are afraid of losing the sponsorship contracts, etc., etc. Like, hey, I'm not allowed to see anywhere near the club, etc., etc. But they still go secretly, and paparazzo catches them, etc., etc. Like paparazzo, even if they catch Jack Grealish, it means nothing. Like he's already vocal about it. He's posting
They
it on
know
his
him,
own story. Yeah.
Like Dennis
So
Rodman as well. Dennis Rodman is like,
absolutely. That, yeah.
I go 5 days hookers Las Vegas and I come back and play.
Exactly, and that's it. And the more open you are about it, it's just like people accept you, and this is like, hey, this is guy, no bullshit. Like this is the real him. So in today's time, referring to your question on that, we can't hide anything. On the workshop, we said, and we can say it here. It's quite interesting. Like, especially when you are searching for a job or something like that, people can stalk you, and they usually do. The good HR teams, they usually do. They go through your Instagram stories, through your highlights. They can even ask your friends, etc., etc. Because that's the age we are living at. Hey, it's not okay. You shouldn't ask about my personal life, etc., etc. There's no a clear border between, okay, this is personal, this is business. No, it's like kind of like a fusion nowadays, and you can't hide anything. So then don't try. Either don't have anything to hide, or show everything. Like, hey, this is me, and that's it. If you're gonna accept me, you will, or if you're not, somebody else will. And it's impossible to make everyone love you. But I believe that's the thing that we kind of crushed over the years, especially in communication. Like, for example, Stolaria Stanisic that we mentioned before. There are dozens of people who said, hey, this is very cringe. Like, what are you doing? I would never buy your windows. And that's fine. You're not my client. You're not my customer. Go buy windows somewhere else. But I still have thousands of people who want to buy from me. And that's the thing. You have to have the courage to take a stand. Okay, this is me. This is the audience that I'm looking for. Go for it. That's it. For personal and for corporate, for any brand, basically, this is the rule.
Yeah, there's a parallel, clearly.
But also it comes down to the question, why should you build a personal brand? I mean, we generally, it's not like Kenan missed it, we just went deep dive, but what me and Kenan said in the workshop is, you need to start from a piece of paper. You don't start by choosing which social media channel you're going to use to distribute your message. The first question is, what for do I need a personal brand? That's the question that many people skip. And the second question comes, I mean, not everybody wants to be mentioned in any room. People just want to wake up, go to work, be with their family, have a couple of beers, drinks with their friends. If they have a dog or cat, they run or swim. They don't need a personal brand. But the first question is to be honest with yourself. And these are answers only for anybody who is listening and considering creating a personal brand. Why do I need a personal brand? If they like the answer to the question, what do I want to say? Something that I can live with. When you choose the messages you want to talk about, regardless of the frequency or density or format. I mean, when it comes down to format and sharing your message, you only have 3 ways. Either it's video, either it's audio, either it's written word, or a combination of any of those 3. In all the social media and everything, you have 3 ways to spread your message. But the question is, which message? I mean, these are really practical things people can think about, because when they answer these questions, it becomes so easy to create content, because you want to be known for that, not to be known as a sports person or somebody else. I mean, we mentioned Grealish, we mentioned, I don't know, Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, etc. But you have different people who are building different personal brands. For example, Tony Kroos, he's building a totally different brand, showcasing his family life, the work of his foundation, the work of his organization, a couple of photos from the Champions League night. But he's not building a community around only brands. Then you have people who are, for example, were professional runners, but are now building brands. And they're using their personal brand not only for running or getting sponsors for the race, but to build their own brand. So the starting point when anybody of us wants to build a brand, why do I need a personal brand and I need to sell it to myself? Then I need to decide what message I want to share with the world. Why? Because if I repeat the message enough times, people will start hearing it. I don't know, the ex-CEO of LinkedIn said a couple of years ago, once you get tired of listening to yourself, people will only just start hearing you. So we are every day, every minute of our days in our mind and thinking about what we are saying. If I now ask you to say tomorrow and after tomorrow, next 3 days, to 10 people the same sentence, after the second day, you will want to puke. But every time that new person will hear that story for the first time, and you are making a first impression. And those are if for example, for the examples, me and Kenan can now go through a list of people who are good personal brands. But my advice to anybody listening is, who are the people on your social media feed whose content you are looking for? Those are the people that are some kind of personal brand in your life. There is something about those people that you like, and try to figure out what you like. Maybe it's the energy, maybe it's the words, maybe it's the style of filming, maybe it's the controversy, or I know I cannot say I don't like your brand.
No, the only one name came to my head. It's Alvedin Sakic. So yeah.
Yeah, but there is something. Our brain is communicating with us. The function of our brain is to protect us and give us information that we want to see on a repeated basis. I'm not talking about algorithms. I'm talking about how we perceive the stimuli we get in this concept. We're talking about content. But the idea about personal branding is, Kenan said it beautifully. We're trying to overcomplicate simple shit. People who are the best personal brands in the world are people that are most natural. And people who are really working hard on having an online image and an in-person image different have real trouble over time, over the long run. So if you're trying to build a personal brand, anybody, the first step would be, and that's the biggest crossroad of anybody's decision, is whether or not do I need a personal brand? Because not everybody needs a personal brand. We all have it and we can nurture it. Whether we want to build it or not, it is there. It's like a seed inside of us. So just only some of us decide to sprout it and garden it and nurture it and make it bigger and better and beautiful and help others. And just some people only stay on the seed phase, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. But we want to decide how big we want that tree to be, how long, how deep the roots will be, how many flowers we want to have around us, etc. So it's really important to decide what, where, and then who. And when you find out who, and when you have all these answers, then you choose your platform. If you don't like to speak, never go on a podcast, never go on a presentation, never go to networking events. You love to write, use all platforms for writing. People say long form content is dead because of TikTok and 230 meters of scrolling. I read this beautiful quote recently. It said, people don't have low attention span. People have low consideration span. People want to read good books, listen to good podcasts, speak with good people, pay money for conferences, but they don't have time for shit and low quality content they don't like. People will look a Netflix documentary on their phone 2.5 hours on the plane and don't blink, but a reel of 15 seconds will be boring to them if they don't like it. Think about the consideration span, not about attention.
I never thought about this. Yeah, makes sense. I like how you mentioned start with why. It reminds me of the book from Simon Sinek, Start with Why. Basically, people tend to focus on what they're doing and not getting from the very beginnings why they're doing it. Like bakery, I'm selling bread, and he's focused on selling bread, how to sell it, and so on. But start from scratch. Why are you saying? Maybe he likes making people happy and stuff. So focus your branding on this, making happiness through bread. Yes. So yeah. And it's in every day. Start from us. Why am I doing this? Why am I reading this book? Why am I saying hi to these people, hang out with those people? Does it make sense? Does it not? Yeah.
And it's
tend to
okay
ask myself
not,
this.
it's okay not to have the answer immediately. You need to try the water before you jump. I don't know, Kenan loves some things I don't like and vice versa. And that's
Many
okay.
things, yeah.
Many things, not a few things. Many. But that's okay. But he's building, I'm building, Onat's building, Dushan's building, people are building. People are all trying to. But the difference is that sometimes I have a feeling that many of us in general, including myself, not to exclude myself, are takers. We are taking people's attention. This is the biggest new thing I bought. This is the place I work. This is the people I met. I mean, people are a different category, but all those things that I want to take your attention. When you do your research on personal branding more often than not, I mean, not talking about the new generation of influencers whose work I love, some I don't, is people who have strong personal brands are people who give a lot. They're givers. They flip the coin. They're not taking attention. They're giving value, and people are paying that value with their attention. It's not only this is me, I'm here, I'm there, I'm where, I'm what. Here's somebody who tells a story. For example, you two are building a podcast, and you two are telling the story of building a podcast for the sake of fill in the blanks. And at the beginning, there will be one person listening to that story, then a second person, then a third person, then a fifth person, until you come to the 100,000 million billion listeners. Seth Godin started that. 10 years ago, he said, every day, one blog, no exceptions, only blog. No Facebook, no Instagram, no LinkedIn, nothing, just a blog. 10, 20 years after, he is the most read blog in the world. He is above some of the major news outlets who put out 50, 60, 100, 200 pieces of content every day. One blog, and his blog is sometimes just 2 paragraphs. It's not always 700 words, 13-minute read. It's just something he thinks about. He'd see a glass of water and he sees it's empty and he says it's never empty. Then he explains it through marketing and branding, and that's a blog. And every day for the last 10 years. And that's personal branding.
Yeah, be persistent, be consistent, and be true to yourself, basically.
Yes, yes. I mean, those are all, they can be like, how to say it in English, floskula. It can
empty
be something
words.
Empty words.
Empty
but
words,
it's really true. Sometimes the easiest words are repeated so much that they become boring, but how many people around you in your communities you know that are really persistent and have the grit and discipline to build their personal? We know the formula. It's not hard. But why are the most popular personal brands in our country mostly entertainment influencers? Some of them do a great job. Comedians, lifestyle influencers, parent influencers. They're all good. But from the business standpoint, now let's go a little bit to our career. How many professional personal brands in this country do we have?
I know business scene in the ex-Yugoslavian area, but not many. Yeah. I know a few, but again, I need to really think about it, not on top of my mind.
Yes.
I also have to shortly disagree with Harun, of course.
Of course.
Because that's the thing with building any brand, including personal, including a company brand, etc., etc. There's no a single rule, like there's no like, hey, you have to do this, you have to do that. You don't have to post anything, and you can still have a personal brand.
Yes.
That's the thing that's hard to explain people. And the only I remember right now, as Harun was speaking, if we have to choose one secret ingredient, like, hey, how can I build a good personal brand, etc., etc., the secret ingredient is be good at what you are doing. Because if you are good, people will talk about you. If you are good, people will recommend you to someone else. And whatever it is, whether if you are making bread, playing football like Jack Grealish, doing marketing campaigns, etc., etc., when you are good, people talk about you. And there's a quote, I don't know, was it Ogilvy, Harun, or Haggerty, or someone else? Like they said that advertising is a price that unremarkable businesses pay. Like there's nothing so unique about my product, so I have to pay a bunch of money to the media, to the billboards, etc., so people can talk about it. And the best example that I can remember for this is ChatGPT. The night that I first used ChatGPT, I sent it to over, I think, between 30 and 50 people just that night. Like I was so chill. Hey, what is this? Check this out. Why? Because it's so remarkable. It's something that we have never seen before. and you have an instant need to share it with people. Hey, check this out, check this out, check this out, check this out. It's the same way that people react if they try, I don't know, the pizza that was the best they ever had, that if we work with a consultant that is the best they ever had, etc., etc. So the only secret ingredient basically would be very, very good at what you do. And it's basically much better to invest time into being actually good than it is to invest time in building a personal brand, writing content, etc., etc., etc. So just that's the main thing. That's the starting point, and then these all things that we are talking about are basically just the next steps. Because if your product or if your services or anything that you do is bullshit, then I don't know, Seth Godin personally can do a personal branding for you, and you will still suck.
That's the thing. I mean,
that's the hard truth. Yeah.
You added a deeper layer, because if you go over Kenan and says that he's not true, and you start building your personal brand, over time it becomes fluff. Why? Because you don't have anything to show. Who am I to talk about gardening? I can now use AI tools and write about gardens and use really good words and invite people in my content, and people will start reaching out to me about roses and flowers and tulips and everything, but I don't know anything. I mean, you can attract.
That would be a cool career switch for you, Harun.
Yes.
I would love to see you. I would pay to see you gardening.
Okay, you'll never.
Maybe you'll find your love.
But that's the thing. I mean, I would love to disagree with Kenan, but I cannot disagree at this point, because that's really true. I mean, you need to have.
Okay, we can end podcast here.
No, you can add. Maybe like an analogy. I mean, you want to share your story with somebody, and let's say that your story or whatever you're sharing is water, and you only have a cup, and that cup are all the distribution channels, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, social, written word, conferences, whatever. So that's the cup. The water is your story. But once you give all the water out, the glass is empty. The social media and everything, you need to have the well from which you will take more water. And that well is your knowledge, is your career, is your success, is your failure, everything, experience, wisdom that makes you you. Because from time to time, you need to go back to that well. You need to put more water in that well with more experience, more work, more success, more engagement, whatever, and then you can share it with others. Because if you just share, and somebody calls you, says you, oh, I really like what you write, can I talk with you about Kenan advertising? And Kenan says, okay, you see, I've not ever been an advertiser. I've been working like a taxi driver. And then somebody can ask, okay, but why are you writing for the last 4 years about advertising? I mean, people can shift their careers, but people need to have something from which they can take the water. And that's why I agree with Kenan here on air on a public platform.
Yeah. But you did a soft burn here. Side note, he was talking about gardening and you're telling him being taxi driver. So what you did there?
I can earn more money as a taxi driver. It's fine.
Okay. Gardening is a passion project.
Okay.
Do it for love.
Guys, near our end of this episode, but we would like to sum up what you said. Where do you see the future of the branding, not just corporate branding, but personal branding in the Balkans? The dynamics, is it changing? Is it shifting? I guess Kenan was the last one to start, so Harun, you can start now.
Where do I see the future of personal branding in the Balkans? I think
or corporate branding, like is it shifting? The tendencies, the trends, where is it moving towards?
I think that people are using information channels more than ever. That, as we mentioned at the beginning, I think that anybody listening to this, I would just say, don't try to manipulate people. I mean, the bullshit radar is so high that
try, it's fun.
yeah, try it at your own risk.
People are easy to manipulate.
No, I'm not talking against communication.
This is a joke. Disclaimer, this is a joke.
We'll cut this part out. So
but
this is a joke.
People are what I see regionally and locally here in Bosnia Herzegovina is that people are starting to work on their personal brands. People are starting to work on their personal brands because they see that there's more to their career than what they have now. Also, what I see from brands and what the trend will be is that we are trying to take over a little bit of that Western culture of communication. And I think that in the future we will see a lot of improvement in communication when it comes, for example, to employer branding, when it comes to brands. And I think that a good time in our country is coming when it comes to creative communication. Brands will need to differentiate them above. No, it's coming. I'm not saying it's here. It must come. It must come. It's a road we're driving. We cannot avoid it. Not because
You
of
only
the
must die and pay taxes.
not because of proactivity of companies. Why? Because younger generations are more aware of what's happening outside, and they want that level of quality. But when it comes to personal brands, what I think we will experience in the next couple of years is a surge in people using putting out more of themselves out there because they see that it works. The West starts any trend in the world, such as personal branding. People 2 years ago, when you were active on LinkedIn, you were being perceived as somebody who just writing content. Today, those people are leaders in what they do, and they have their own wealth. We may agree or may not agree, but they have success behind themselves. But I think that more and more people will start engaging in personal branding, and that's something really good because I personally believe everybody has a story to tell. And for brands, I think that brands will start using more of their people because the sum of each team member's brand is bigger than the company brand in many companies here today. That's something I see personally. Maybe 5 years from now, I may be totally wrong or to some extent, but I feel it's going in that way.
Fair. And you, Kenan?
I'm very excited to see what will happen with the AI because nobody has the answer at the moment. How much of our job will AI take? Basically, that's the old debate, and nobody is quite sure at the moment. And that's something that's kind of excites me and scares me at the same time because now with AI, like we can do stuff much quicker than before, but also it's still not on the level that we want it to be. And there's a quote going around on Instagram like, I want my AI to do my dishes and my other things so that I can do art and poetry, not AI to do art and poetry so I can do the dishes. So basically that's something that we have to focus on. Okay, we have to have it to make our lives easier, and stuff like art, poetry, etc. actually makes our life more beautiful, and we have to stick to it, etc. And in Balkans, I totally disagree with Harun. I don't think the communication will change. I think it will go in another direction because here's the fact why I'm saying this. Like 3 or 4 years ago, I wrote an article on why Zadruga is the most watched program in Balkans because I was really like, I had
Reality show.
Yeah, it's a really cheap reality show where people are like sleeping with each other, drinking, constantly fighting, etc. It's like really trash TV show, but it has over 1 billion views on LinkedIn accumulated of all videos that it has over 1 billion views. There's no channel in Balkan ever that managed to achieve that. So it means this is the market. Like we are talking, me and Harun also, we're seeing things through our people around us, the communities that we are a part of, etc., etc. But this is the majority. And you as a brand have to accept, okay, if I'm doing something on a larger scale, these are the people that I'm advertising to. And that's the thing that I don't think will get better, although it doesn't mean it's worse. Basically, people are watching reality show, gossip columns, crime documentaries, etc., because they are missing the enjoyment, the adrenaline in their own lives. Like, hey, my life is quite boring. I work at the bank. I have a wife, 3 children. So let's see in Zadruga who slept with who cheated on who, etc., etc. This is the basic principle of why people are doing this. Why this is the voyeurism that we have inside of us. Like, okay, nothing is happening to me, but I need a spike of adrenaline. So let me check the reality show. Let me scroll the TikTok for half an hour, etc., etc. So I believe that we will see more and more examples like Stolaria Stanisic, and many of them are basically trying even now, but not all of them are successful because we only talk about successful marketing campaigns who manage to get through and come to the target audience. And I believe that in the future, we will have more and more brands actually entering it because they will realize how big return on investment might be if they focus on things that Balkan people are basically using, like Zadruga, like burek and cola, etc., etc. And that's actually a path towards authenticity that we have in this region of the world.
All right. Like mixing unique stuff, like for instance, Vinyak and Coca-Cola, and they make a one thing could mix together because they know that you cannot sell it outside, but they know people like to mix. Vinyak Konat is like type of our brandy, and they know people mix it, so they sell it as one product because they know what they want
That's
and
it.
what they like.
That's it. That's it.
But
Because
there is
you
the
have to
truth.
realize you can't change the market. You just have to adjust. Okay, this is the market. I can't change how 20 million people behave. I can only go in their direction, and that's it.
But that depends. That's the truth. It's somewhere in the middle. If you said it beautifully at the beginning. If you want to go to the mass and that target group is your group, but it all depends. That's hence the question: what do you want? Maybe you want to go towards that audience, or you want to go to other audiences. But that's really, really, really important to know whether you want to go wide, throw a net, and see what catches, or you want to go deep. But you cannot do left and right. That's why you have brands like, I don't know, Louis Vuitton, and you have H&M. That's why you have, I don't know, some other big brands which are niche or jewelry, and then you have other, I don't know, low budget jewelry. It's all what you want to do. Or if you want a high fancy restaurant in Sarajevo, I don't know, Libertas, or you want to go to a fast food like, I don't know, Otra. There you can eat food for 2-3 euros, but when you go to this restaurant, when you just have a cup of water, it's already 10 euros. And all it depends. And if you invite a wrong target audience to your place or your brand, you're going to do it more harm than harm. And I agree to an extent with Kenan, but more that I disagree. Why? Because the answer lies in each and every one of us. Whether it's personal brand or business brand, we really need not to be driven by the shiny object. Oh, I don't know, whatever I'm doing, I'm making this pencil, and look, I want to, I don't know, sell to 100 people, but they are selling their pencils to the audience of Zadruga. I want the numbers that Zadruga has, maybe, but I don't want that quality. And that's
you can't achieve them.
That's what people need to decide on. What are they willing to, whatever choice they make, they're risking out on missing that other part. That's why I disagree. But I agree that is
fair.
The big picture.
Also, just shortly to add in the end, there's also the many marketers are talking about anti-brand movement. Like people are basically you don't need to have a brand for everything. Like there's Amazon, there's OLX in Bosnia, for example. You don't know the brand; it doesn't matter. I just need the tool, and I'm gonna buy it. So you don't talk about the brand per se. Like you don't have to have brand in everything. Like I need a gardener. Will I go through and see, oh, this gardener has the best personal brand, let's take him. He has a LinkedIn profile. I don't care. Just when you do my grass, yes, come.
Somebody will do
yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
It depends what you want. Do you want just a function or you want value? And that's okay, whatever somebody chooses. That maybe my personal advice for the end, and first of all, I would like to thank you too for a fantastic conversation, is try it. It's better to stop and say this is not for me than not to try at all. Personal branding is really worth it. I mean, even if 2 people are listening to you, you have a personal brand. I mean, listening, following, whatever in today's world.
Mother and sister, etc.
Yeah. I mean, besides your
and the neighbors they drag in.
I mean, we really put bigger value on numbers than we put on quality. And just try, and I mean, you may be amazed what comes as a result. And if you decide to stop, you can just stop. I mean, Kenan said thousands of pieces of content every day. Not many people will see you missing. But if you don't try, in 10 years, you don't want to ask yourself, why didn't I do that TikTok or make that YouTube video or wrote that blog or whatever, or go to that conference? Because that's the idea of personal branding. We've been talking about digital. I mean, personal branding involves also, as we mentioned, in person and everything. So think about personal branding and take this home as every touch point to make every day with every single person in your life.
Full stop.
And also,
Understood.
you don't have to go to conferences and said, oh, you can be that good so that when you cold call a client, they will say, hey, I already heard about you. Let's meet. There's no single.
Whatever I said, he would say.
I said at the beginning that and it will come naturally.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just a small detail when you mentioned Kenan, not related to this this confrontation about anti-branding. There's a really cool example in Japan of not having a brand and yet they are a brand. There's like a Japanese retail of clothes and they're promoting themselves as a non-existing brand, like no name, nothing. I don't know how they pull it off, but it exists somehow.
I don't know. You can also Google in the United States. There was a brand. I think something happened to them, but they were one of the fastest growing DTC direct consumer brands. It's called Brandless. The woman made a brand called Brandless with only just colors and I don't know regular Microsoft Word text, and they became one of the fastest growing companies in the United States.
But they are still the brand. Yeah.
Ironically speaking, yeah.
This was fantastic.
Yeah. We have one more question. So Onat, if you may ask the last one.
It will be like a similar one, but it will be personal. But how do you see yourself? Not in a HR way, but how do you see yourself in the future? Like personal, just like what do you like to grow?
What's your
into?
next quest as a knight for our audience?
I'll let Harun first
Kenan
on this one.
No,
I'm shy right now. Don't shy out.
My answer will depend on his answer.
Okay, then we'll choose right now. Harun, you start.
Thank you very much. What? I need like a teacher mode.
What was the question?
No, where do I see myself in the future, based on
Or your next challenges.
Next
to be, as Onat said,
to be
HR
honest,
question.
To be honest, I see myself continuing many of the things I'm currently doing. I mean, in the sense of trying to continue working on my personal brand, what I believe and what stories I want to share. But maybe from this point on, you can refer to that in the future. I'm currently working on a side project, hobby. At this moment, it's a small product-based entrepreneurial journey that's only in its beginning.
Say the name.
No, in which I'm trying to build a product-based story. It's in its infant stage.
Infancy.
Yes, and what I see is implementing all the topics we talked about today. I mean, at least the parts I said, not Kenan.
Why not mine? What's wrong with mine?
Because of the things I've been talking about are the things I really would like to integrate it. It's a product that's cosmetics product that people will use. I mean, we're working on it, but that is maybe one of the biggest interesting challenges personally for me, and how that may and to what extent it will integrate with my personal brand and with everything I'm doing. So that's maybe what Onat asked, if I could say one thing, that would be maybe one of the most interesting.
Would you like to say which product, or it's up to be seen?
It's a cosmetics product. We will talk about it more maybe in the future, but the name, as Kenan said, is
hemorrhoids or what?
No, it's not. No. I just don't want to jinx it at this moment, but it's called OMG. So that's the name of the brand, and I make myself a promise to send you guys to try it out.
Thank you. Looking forward.
You said it. You said publicly now, so you said it publicly now. Now it's over.
Of course. I stand behind my word.
And you, Kenan?
Well, basically, I have no idea. In terms of HR wise, I really have no plans. But I know that I founded my own boutique marketing consultancy, which is basically me working for a few clients because I can't handle more of them, and I'm really enjoying this system because basically I'm choosing who I'm going to work with, and this is the best fit for my curiosity, because I don't know, I have clients in design furniture, in tech, psychotherapy, etc., and these are all the areas that interest me. But if I focus only on one of them, it would be like it would squeeze me in. So I really love this, and I hope that in the future as well, I'll be doing what basically makes me happy, as much as cringe as that sound, but basically That's all. I might be a gardener, I might be a taxi driver, I might, I don't know, anything. I'm not excluding any option, because the famous David Ogilvy said also he made a hundreds of billboards in his life, and in the end of his career, he said, like, there's no billboard in the world that made basically nature much more beautiful. So I'm thinking after retiring myself of going out and just cutting billboards. That's the guy who basically invented advertising as we know it today. So yeah, it's we can't exclude any options. So we'll see. But I'm very happy at the place where I'm now, and I hope this just enthusiasm continues. That's all.
If I can say both Donuts and my name, we know that you'll succeed, both of you, in your quests, so to call them. Yeah, it will be more than enough based on your energy, enthusiasm, your creativity, your persistence, and your innate, more than obvious, between each other and in general in life.
No.
Yeah. It will work fine.
It was really
once again from my side as well, thank you guys for inviting us. It was really a pleasure, and I hope the audience will also like and find useful some of the things that we talked about.
Yeah.
Definitely.
At least some. They don't need all, as Harun said, but at least some, to find some things that will be useful for them. That will more than enough.
Might ask which profile is the guy who's washing his own Python. So yeah, I can send it in the comments. I just want to make a disclaimer. Yeah,
that's Tolaria Stanisic, Egyptian guys and stuff, and plus lots of quotes that you said, guys. I see you read books and you're really educated. It's good, and we would like to share this with our audience at some point. We'll give our best. There's a lot of quotations. Yeah,
and we're here to help any way we can.
Yeah, please. So our audience that are listening and watching, you can find them on LinkedIn or social media, both Kenan and Harun. Also,
they all will be on the description.
Yeah,
great.
Your links, and plus you can comment on all of our posts regarding all this episode, so that maybe if Kenan and Harun have that free time, they can also talk and answer your questions. And sorry for my voice. Best today.
Harun is very slow in answering messages. I will probably answer you faster, but Harun will eventually as well. I have to say this.
Okay. Thank you guys once more from our side. It's also a pleasure having you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. For our audience, until next episode, enjoy, relax. See you by that time. Bye, everyone.
Bye. See you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Ciao.